Here's some information you can pretty much take to the bank. When the media says it was a draw, you know Trump won. When the media says it didn't move the needle, that means they're panicked that President Trump connected with people in the second and final debate. Let me just throw this in here. Trump's 4D chess move once again paid off. By what he did in the first debate, and then missing the second debate because of his own coronavirus and not wanting to do a virtual Zoom meeting style debate, it built up the anticipation in the audience for the third debate, the final debate, which meant everybody was going to be watching, and the bar for the president had been lowered, and he far exceeded the expectation, which means he absolutely decimated Joe Biden and ended Biden's presidential campaign. Now, I know everybody else doing commentary on this is going to feature a montage, and I'm sure that I will do that from time to time, pull out some nuggets of Joe Biden and really focus on them. And at the end of this monologue, I do have a couple little clips to share with you, but I didn't want to do what everybody else is doing, so I'm just going to give you my rundown, my take on it. The president's takedown of Joe Biden was absolutely masterful. I said in my Thursday monologue, Mr. President, you need to have the precision of a fine surgeon using a scalpel, not a soldier yielding a machete. See, someone can bleed to death with a scalpel wound just like they can from a machete hack. The problem is we live in such an uber-sensitive society today, they just can't handle the straight talk and the straight dealing that Donald Trump employs during a debate. So he did go in there with masterful precision, and understand, Joe Biden has been off the campaign trail since last Sunday. He's been at home, in his bunker, playing prevent defense, to thinking that they're just going to run the clock out, and, just spending time every day in debate prep. And that he had his memorized, although he struggles to remember, his memorized what were supposed to be the knockout punches. And they were not the knockout punches. And that's why, again, President Trump won this debate. For example, when Joe Biden wanted to go after him regarding immigration and ripping children out of the hands of parents and what he's done at the border, it was President Trump who simply came back by repeating the question several times, strategically and deadly. Who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages, Joe? Those pictures that appear in the newspaper of kids in cages, that was done by you. That was done by the previous administration, the Obama administration. Who built the cages, Joe? That was classic. When Vice President Biden said that, I never said I would end fracking. Show me the video, man. Post it on your website, man. You don't think everybody's looking at the montage of videos of Joe Biden saying he will end fossil fuel, he will end fracking? And by the way, can I tell the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media and the Democrats out trying to do spin on all the cable news shows and all the talk radio circuits between Thursday night and all day Friday and into the weekend? Can I tell you something? You know that you lost Pennsylvania, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, the oil-producing states in this country. Because basically Joe Biden made it emphatically clear in his closing remarks regarding fracking when he was just allowed to talk. And again, it played into Trump's favor to not let him interrupt Joe, to just let Joe talk. And Joe looked feeble and old and weak, and it was painful. It was like watching a babbling grandfather. And I think that rattled and shocked a lot of Americans who want to go to the polls to vote against Trump, who now realized you can't have this doddering old fool. Look at what he's going to do. He's going to wipe out an entire industry, and he's proud of it, that we're going to phase out oil, phase out fossil fuels. And like the president said, really, solar energy, I think it's a great idea, but man, we're not there yet. There aren't enough solar panels you can put on a factory to operate everything that's needed to run a factory. And of course, Joe Biden standing there, yes, you can. You know, Michael Moore did a movie recently, and I'm no Michael Moore fan, but even he did a movie recently where, you know, they exposed the canard of so-called green energy, that it just doesn't work. All of the fossil fuel that has to be spent to actually mine what's needed to build windmills and to create solar panels, you're never going to do away with fossil fuel. When he went to, I think it was outside Detroit, to an area that had basically two entire football fields of solar panels. And the Michael Moore team wanted to know, wow, look at all these solar panels. Now, how much of the city does this operate? And they were basically told, about 5 houses. Wait, you have 2 football fields filled with solar panels, and this only operates 5 houses? In other words, you would have to have 10 times as many solar panels and 10 times as much property needed for solar panel farms than you would for the actual buildings they're supposed to empower. So it was phenomenal the way that Trump literally walked Joe into admitting he is going to kill an entire industry. And Joe, you can kiss those votes goodbye. And I go, they didn't get into law and order, but again, law and order going to vote with Trump, and that is going to flip some blue states red. Mark it down. Mark it down. Joe talked about that we got to have a plan for COVID, and the president has no plan. So when he was pressed on particulars for his plan, well, I would require masks. Yeah, okay. And every place that masks are required, the numbers are still going up. At what point do we finally say, the masks aren't working? The masks do nothing. And again, the mortality rate is coming down, which Trump drove home masterfully. The mortality rate is coming down, and people are learning to live with it. And of course, that opened up the typical political Democrat empathy, sympathy, and Joe was waiting for it to say, tell that to the person that doesn't have a loved one sitting across the table from them that died, man, or they're reaching over to touch that loved one in bed and they're not there, man, and we're heading into a dark winter. So everything with Democrats, it's dark. It's dark. It's over. It's finished. President Trump wants to be optimistic. He wants to be hopeful. You know, he's living proof that, hey, he says, I got this, and 2 days later, and we've got great therapeutics. There is a vaccine that is on the cusp of coming, and we're ready for this thing, but we cannot shut down the country. And so really, the crystal clear picture was, we cannot shut down the country. We cannot make the cure worse than the problem. And see, Joe even walked into it. He basically said, yeah, he is for endless shutdowns. If that's what the scientists call for, if we start seeing spikes in places, shut down, shut down, shut down. It was interesting because every panel group that I have watched post-debate analysis, even the Biden supporters in those groups, none of them want a shutdown. I have been saying this, and apparently Joe got off message because it was Joe saying, oh, it's the president. Just a couple weeks ago, Joe was saying, it's the president that wants the shutdowns, not me. Well, he's reverted back to, yes, shutdown. Because the libloons and the libtards that are now running the Democratic Party, the AOCs plus 3, you know, they're into all of this lockdown, shutdown, and the government would just basically keep paying everybody. That might appeal to a very small, minute group of laze bags who don't want to do anything, but the vast majority of Americans not only want to go to work because that's where we get our sense of purpose and value from, and we like to be busy. We want to go back to watching baseball games live in the stadium and not on television with virtual fans being, computer graphicked in by Fox Sports. You know, we actually want to go back to our lives. We want to go back to movies and out to dinner, and we want to live our lives. Even the ones that support Joe Biden, even Democrats, are sick and tired of COVID. They're sick and tired of Fauci. The president has his hand on the pulse of this thing. And last night, Joe Biden basically saying we will be in lockdown forever. The president said we have to learn to live with it. And Joe Biden said, no, we have to learn to die with it. See, again, that goes back to when the president got out of Walter Reed Hospital and the media went into meltdown mode. Here he is out there talking about, don't be afraid of it. You need to be afraid of it. You need to be afraid of it. See, this is the only way Democrats can win anything. This is the only way they get to run and rule anything. They have to create a catastrophe, and they have to make you afraid so that you are willing to relinquish all of your rights and your common sense to feel safe, to feel safe. Well, if living to be safe means I gotta sit in my living room the rest of my life and just watch an endless loop of reruns on Netflix wearing a face mask in my house, and if I follow the lunatic advice of the governor of California, I can't have anybody over to my house for Thanksgiving, and if I do, we got to eat outside, and we can't pass the mashed potatoes, like you would at a holiday meal. Somebody has to have a mask on and gloves on and goggles on and serve it to you, or your neighbors will turn you in because they're going to be watching what you're doing in your backyard. If that's free, baby, I want no part of that kind of free. That's the Biden world. That's the Democrat world. That's what they're trying to shove down our throats. You better mark it down, and you better pay attention, because if Joe Biden gets in there, it's endless masks. We'll be wearing these things not just till 2021 or 2022, forever. Are you watching my lips? Forever. This will be because once they get those masks on you permanently, that will be forever reminding you, you need to keep voting for us because we're the only ones keeping you alive. These evil Republicans are going to come along and tell you to take your face mask off, and when you do, you'll die. This is how insane these people are. And make no mistake, if Joe gets in, it's packing. He's going to pack the Supreme Court, put at least 15 justices on there to guarantee the quote-unquote liberal majority. He will pack the lower courts. You better believe it. He will pack the Senate by bringing in Puerto Rico and D.C. as new states. They are going to turn America inside out and rip its guts and its heart out, and you can kiss the Constitution goodbye, and they'll do all of it without a single vote. That's what's coming. Again, when Joe was pressed, what would you do? Well, rapid testing. We do have rapid testing. And the reason our numbers look the way they do, Joe, compared to Europe, Joe, we're doing much more testing than Europe, Joe. But again, the death rate has dropped 85%. I'm even sick and tired of listening to Mike DeWine, the alleged Republican governor of Ohio, talking about these cases keep going up, and I'm very concerned about this. We have to keep an eye on it, and perhaps, come out with new restrictions. No. We're getting herd immunity. It's too bad that idiot Fauci is so hell-bent on cramming a vaccine down our veins, because he stands to profit and make billions of dollars for he and his family to be perpetually wealthy. That's what's happening. And then Joe Biden talked about, we got to have plexiglass up so you can eat safely in restaurants. Again, could we stop checking our brains at the door? Could we just stop that? So let me get this straight. I walk into a restaurant, I could drop dead right there at the hostess station if I don't have a mask on. But I could walk 10 feet, sit down at a table, and as long as I'm surrounded by a shower curtain and plexiglass, I'll live. Is the virus schizophrenic? I mean, is the virus so deadly? It just hovers over the hostess station, and it will kill you as you stand there. But once you sit at your table and you have a drink in front of you and some French fries, oh my God, I can't go there. I'll die. That's the virus, really? This is big bad Coronazilla? And by the way, Waffle House, you look absolutely stupid when I drive by and look in your big windows and you got shower curtains hanging in between every booth. You look like morons. Stop it. Take it down. Take the mask off. Let's get back to life. I thought the president's best line of the night was that Joe Biden is more interested in Wall Street donors and not Main Street success. Oh, bam, slam, bam, baby. And when Biden does this, look into the camera, your family, and I understand because I'm from Scranton. And Trump did jump in there, and he didn't get his mic muted when he said, there we go, typical politician, get off the subject, then try to flip the script and try to talk about you and your family. And, he makes it sound like he's from Scranton and he was there as a baby. He doesn't remember anything about Scranton. It was perfect because it allowed Trump to segue into this typical politician, all talk, no action. And what did Biden say? We couldn't get the reforms done on the crime bill because I had a Republican Congress. And the president said, I've gotten things through a Democratic Congress. And remember, this is a Democratic Congress that for 3.5 years had him under Russian investigation, tried to impeach him, and has thrown up one roadblock after another roadblock. Yet look how much Donald Trump has gotten done. He has learned to work within that system and get done what he promised to get done. And it was a clear contrast showing you this is your 47-year typical politician. Blame, promise big, then do nothing, and then blame the other guy that it didn't get done. And yet now all of a sudden he's going to go in and fix everything. And Donald Trump said, I've been there 3 years. I got a lot of it fixed. Give me another 4 years and watch what I can get done. Boom! Made the case. And then masterfully, Trump worked into the whole dropping the bombs about Hunter Biden, the emails, and what's going on. And what did old Joe have to say? Well, that's just Russian disinformation. And the president was great. Like, really? This is what we're doing now? Russia, all over again?
Marsha.
No. Russia. Marsha. And basically, that doesn't even pass the laugh test anymore because now we know the FBI, the Justice Department has come out and authenticated and said, no, this really is Hunter's laptop. This is his hard drive. We got him. Now, a lot of people don't know that because the mainstream media still won't really cover this. But they're going to have to. They're not going to have a choice because this is getting all over the internet now. And at some point, even though the media is trying desperately to carry old Joe's water, the one thing the media hates is when they are thought of as being irrelevant. That's one of the reasons they have been so hammered down on Donald Trump. They're trying to prove to us that their influence is so powerful, they can crush and get rid of Trump. They want us to believe how powerful they are because we've been calling them the dying media, the dying legacy mainstream media. And they don't want to be thought of as being irrelevant. And if the internet and all this information gets out and American people, even on the Democrat side, start saying, hey, what is this to this Hunter Biden story? We're not seeing it on CNN or PMSNBC. Rachel Madcow's not talking about it. The mainstream media does not want to be irrelevant. And they're going to have to start talking about it. And so when Joe Biden, notice he didn't say that the emails weren't real. He just kept saying, I didn't take any foreign money from any foreign entity. No, that's the whole point of the emails. Hunter was the bag man. He touched the foreign money and then gave you your cut. $3.5 million, Joe, you got from Moscow. And Trump exercised that and hit that masterfully. In the media, you're not going to have any choice. You got to deal with it now that Tony Bobulinski, former associate of Hunter Biden, he's got the emails as well. He's got texts. He's got phone calls he recorded, and it's all coming out now. And in his press conference, he made it clear exactly what was going on.
On May 13, 2017, I received an email concerning allocation of equity, which says 10% held by H for the big guy. In that email, there's no question that H stands for Hunter, big guy for his father, Joe Biden, and Jim for Jim Biden. In fact, Hunter often referred to his father as the big guy or my chairman. On numerous occasions, it was made clear to me that Joe Biden's involvement was not to be mentioned in writing, but only face-to-face. In fact, I was advised by Gilliar and Walker that Hunter and Jim Biden were paranoid about keeping Joe Biden's involvement secret.
You're done, Joe. You're done. Oh, and by the way, This is a side note. It's not a big deal. Most people missed it. We had a great relationship with Hitler before he invaded. No, we didn't. We never had a great relationship with Hitler. What? You are a historical moron. You know, you're out there saying a black guy invented the light bulb. Nope, sorry. You're out there rewriting your own racial history, Joe. You know, and I thought Trump hit that masterfully on talking about the crime bill. Now Joe is trying to say, well, you know, I do regret it. And we were working under the Obama administration to roll it back. No, you weren't, because interviews that you were giving as the vice president, you were asked repeatedly if you still stood by your crime bill, and you said absolutely. In fact, when this cycle began and there were other 20 people running against you for the Democratic primary, you were still defending your crime bill. So don't act like under the Obama administration you were trying to roll it back. That's canard and hogwash. And you said to the president, prove it, I never called them predators, I never said those things, show me the video. Okay, Joe, you asked for it.
It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
Oh yeah, and Joe, you did say you would end fracking.
We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Well, like what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipe?
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate.
No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends. Number one.
3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
No more, no new fracking.
Overall, the president hit it out of the park. He did well. He was focused like a laser. He did a precision surgical takedown of Joe Biden, who did bumble, who did stumble. You know, they're trying to prop him up today, saying, boy, he was on his game. No, he wasn't. He's not on his game. And he got rattled several times. And he didn't have the moderator bailing him out. And I know some people are nitpicking on Twitter and social media today how many times she interrupted the president versus how many times she did not interrupt Joe Biden. But overall, you know, a couple of her questions were setups. You know that going into this. And I am sick and tired of hearing conservatives whine about that. Oh, the type of questions, and why would you agree to that? When is the moderator? All the moderators are going to do that. Even Chris Wallace tried to do that. You have to know that going into it, and you have to be prepared how to pivot it right back on your opponent. And Trump did that masterfully. He did it on the whole Hunter Biden emails. Who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages, Joe? And the moderator trying to set Trump up with what about people that are dying, that are living next to, you know, petroleum companies and et cetera. And the president, success is what brings us together. The economy we had in the minority communities and what we are doing with reaching out and investing into those communities, it was excellent what he did. And the Biden campaign knows they're in trouble. And if they don't know it, then they really are too stupid to be in this race to begin with. But they ain't stupid. They're vile, they're corrupt, and they are out to destroy this country. Wake up, get to the polls, and vote.